Alright, Jumbo everyone, and welcome aboard Caribou. My name is Jake, and I'll be your safari guide out here today on the Harambe Wildlife Reserve. Now, we may be seeing many animals during our 2 weeks together, so if you are planning on taking any photos or videos, we do ask that you hold on to those cameras and or cell phones very tightly. If anything is to fall over the side of the truck, you are going to raise your hand, and I'm going to raise my hand as well, and together we are both going to wave goodbye to the item. I'm just kidding. I will contact one of our wardens and we will try to get it back to you as soon as possible. However, we cannot stop to retrieve it. We do also have to ask that everyone please remain seated during the entire duration of our expedition out here during these 2 weeks. That includes children, adults, lap sitters, tigers, lions, bears, oh my, everybody. Now, this is not the Lion King and you are not Kiki, so please don't raise your child above your head like Simba. We would greatly appreciate it. Now, we are entering the Little Aturi Forest, and the Little Aturi Forest is home to many big animals, oftentimes seeking shelter in the brush out here. If you look above your head, you will see an animal spotting guide. That will help in identifying some of the animals that we see out here today, and I will do my best to point them out as well. If you look on your right side, towards the back of this vegetation, you may have been able to make out an animal walking out into that clearing back there. That animal with the hind legs that resembles that of a zebra is called an okapi. The okapi is actually more closely related to the giraffe than it is to the zebra, and it has a prehensile tongue that allows it to reach brush in more difficult places. This prehensile tongue is also so long that they sometimes use it to clean out their eyes and ears. Now, if you look on your left side, over in the back of this clearing, you will see a very large black rhino. Black rhinos are currently critically endangered. There are only about 5,000 left on the entire planet. They're being poached, hunted, and killed for their horns, and their horns are made out of a material called keratin. Keratin is the same material that makes up your hair and nails, so essentially we are losing these beautiful animals for a product that is worthless, so we do need to help save them at all costs. Now, they are much smaller than their white rhino counterparts. Black rhinos only weigh about 3,000 pounds. Now, if you look on your left side in the clearing over here, I do see two different kinds of animals. The first one with the reddish-brown color to its coat is called a bongo. Bongos are also known as the ghosts of the forest. They are very elusive and oftentimes pretty hard to spot. The ones with the more tan coat are called greater kudu. Those are females because they do not have horns. They can grow to be about 5 feet up to the shoulder. If we were to put your hand on one of the bongos, your hand would come off as a more orange color, just stained just a little bit. Now, we are exiting the Little Aturi Forest and we are heading towards the Safi River. The Safi River is home to some of Africa's most recognizable animals, such as the Nile crocodile and the hippopotamus. Hippos are often spotted lounging about underwater. I do see one out there in the distance, poking his head up just a little bit. So hippos are very dangerous animals. They are very territorial. However, they are herbivores. What you just heard was a wheeze honk. That is their staple noise that they make. We do have to have everyone please remain seated, though, at all times. We can take a quick hold right here, see if he's going to make any more noise. Hippos are herbivores, though, so they do eat only plants. So during the nighttime, they can travel miles away from their usual watering holes, and they'll head on over to the savanna or the grasslands, where they can feed on up to 80 pounds of vegetation in one night. I do see some more over here on our left side. Now, alongside them on this island are going to be pink-backed pelicans. Pink-backed pelicans get their name from the pink patch that appears on their back during mating season. They have a wingspan of approximately 9 feet, so if they were to stand on top of our truck here today, their wings could go from one end to the other widthwise. I'm going to take it nice and slow, pulley, very slowly as we head around this bend. One, so that we can get a little bit of a better view of these hippos over here on our left. They do like to be females. And two, because I have heard a few warnings about the predators that may lurk about in these parts. So we do want to make it nice and slow, see if we spot anything out here. I do spot a pretty young hippo over there, only about a year of age. He does look very, very small, hanging out with his mama over here on the left side. We just want to have everyone please remain seated at all times. This is for your safety and for the safety of the animals. Now, it does look as though those warnings were correct, because if you look over your left side, you'll see a whole bunch of Nile crocodiles. Those are crocodiles you see over there. You can tell the difference between crocodiles and alligators by their mouths. Crocodiles have a more toothy grin. They show more teeth when their mouths are closed. They only eat about once a week, however they can go up to 3 months without eating anything at all. Now I am going to try to get out of here rather fast, as I don't know about you, but I'm not trying to risk my chances with any predators out here tonight, especially crocodiles. Now as we head further along in our expedition, you may notice the ecosystem around us changing pretty slowly. That is because we are headed towards the savanna, also known as the grasslands. The savanna is shaped by the animals that live on it, and oftentimes you'll hear elephants referred to as the bulldozers of the savanna. That is because their migrations can oftentimes tear down many of the trees that may be in their way. So if you see any knockdown trees in our expedition together during these 2 weeks, it may be a good sign that elephants have been around. This massive tree on our right side is called a baobab tree. It is also known as the tree of life or the upside down tree. It gets its name due to the fact that it does not have leaves for about 9 months of the year. And it does so that it can conserve water inside of its trunk. Now this is one of my favorite views out here on the savanna. This is the overlook of the savanna. It makes for some very beautiful pictures. You see a small stampede of wildebeest over there. Those are white-bearded wildebeest, and it is in fact a very, very small herd, as their migrations can have numbers of up to 1.5 million. Now, right on our right side, these are Patterson's eland. The Patterson's eland are the largest antelope on the planet. Males can weigh almost 2,000 pounds, and even at this weight, they can still jump about 6 feet high in the air. That did look to be a couple females back there, as the males are much, much larger. Now coming up on our left side does look to be a den home to some hyenas over here. Hyenas are very ferocious. When they are born with a full set of teeth and their eyes wide open. They are a matriarchal society, and that means that the lowest ranking female is still ranked higher than the highest ranking male. So they have some girl power over there for the hyenas.
Do you see over the bushes?
Now hyenas may oftentimes look as though they are related to African wild dogs or any member of the canine family. However, they are actually more closely related to the feline family, meaning cats. If you look around us, you will see some pretty tall brown structures. These are called termite mounds, and they are made of primarily 3 ingredients, that is dirt, dung, and saliva. They can get as hard as concrete out here in the African sun, and many animals, such as elephants, will use them as scratching posts. If you look at the one on our right side in the center of this clearing, it does look to be a little worn out. So many of the different animals out here will use this as a way to see the savanna from a higher vantage point. Now we may be slowing down just a little bit for some animal crossing. Sometimes that is one of the few jokes that we make out here in the reserve. We call this a giraffic jam. Thank you, I always appreciate the three laughs at that every time. Don't worry, I will be here all week, literally. But in all seriousness though, these are wild animals, so they do have the right of way out here. We are guests in their home. So we're going to make sure we're not calling out to them as we head further along on the expedition. If you look underneath all these trees, you will notice that there's a pretty straight line underneath. That is actually the maximum height that giraffes can reach with their necks to eat some of this vegetation. As I mentioned, the animals out here do shape their surroundings. If you look at the ground, you will notice that the grass is at a pretty even level. That is because the grazing animals help to keep this at this nice even level. It maintains the balance out here. If you look out over onto the hill on your left side, you will see some Maasai giraffe. Those are Maasai giraffe you see. You can tell the difference between Maasai giraffe and the reticulated giraffe by the pattern on their coat. The Maasai giraffe has a more irregular pattern, whereas the reticulated giraffe has a more symmetrical one. Giraffes are some of the tallest animals on the planet. When they are born, they're about 6 feet tall, and they can grow to be about 20 feet tall. Some say that they get their first breath of life from their initial shock at their jaw at birth. They have that same prehensile tongue as on the okapi that I mentioned earlier. However, their tongues are a more purplish hue. It can be as long as your forearm to the tip of your fingers. Although they do have very long necks, they do have the same amount of vertebrae as humans do. We do have another view of these Patterson's elands coming up on the right side through some of this brush. Now, if you look out alongside the white-bearded wildebeest out here, those will be springbok. Springbok are the polar opposite of the Patterson Zealand, in the fact that they're some of the smallest antelope on the planet. They only grow to be about 100 pounds, and they get their name based off the fact that they can jump about 6 feet high in the air and 13 feet forward.
Look at that one, the friend.
Oh, you still have the mango?
Do you know what Rafiki means?
You know what Rafiki means?
Rafiki means friend in Swahili.
And holy cat.
Isn't that cool? So if you look on our right side, you'll see some Ankoli cattle coming up there. The Ankoli cattle are also known as the Watusi cattle, and they get their name Watusi based off of the tribe that first domesticated them. They're some of the only domesticated animals out here on the reserve. There is a pretty young giraffe over here on our left side, only about 6 or 7 months old. So you may look at these Ankoli cattle's horns and think, wow, those must be heavy. However, they are actually mostly hollow on the inside with a honeycomb structure. They have blood vessels located inside of these horns, which allow them to cool off on those hot days by waving them around. They are regarded as a sign of wealth by many African tribes, so during the nighttime they will be herded into thorn pens called boma to help keep them safe from predators. Now I do see more of the Tower of Giraffe coming up ahead. Tower is the name for a group of giraffes. They can learn to walk within about an hour of being born, so they can catch up with the rest of their herd.
Yeah, it is a
Looks like there is another pretty young one coming up ahead. Again, only 6 or 7 months of age. We'll take it nice and slow as we head on past. However, we can't stop as they are just a little bit close over here.
This giant
You do have a pretty good view of that prehensile tongue as they're reaching up into the brush over there. If you looked at the top of their heads, you may be able to see some pretty short horns up there. Those horns don't actually start as that more firm texture. They actually start as more kind of like big poof balls on the top of their head. So it's a pretty beautiful sight. Now coming up ahead, I do see a tree that has been knocked down. Who remembers what this might be a good sign for? Elephants, that is correct. So from here on out, we will keep our eyes peeled for elephants up here. However, they do migrate quite often, so we may not be able to catch them. I actually do see one coming up over here on our right side. Looks to be a male African elephant. You can tell that that is an African elephant by the shape of its ears. Its ears are shaped like the continent of Africa. You can also tell by the fact that we are in Africa. Now they are poached much like rhinos. They are poached for their tusks. Their tusks are made out of a material called ivory, which is the same material that makes up products such as piano keys and small figurines. Their numbers are dwindling though in the wild, so we do need to help protect them as much as possible. Now this does look to be a male African elephant coming up on our right side, and that is because males are often found in solitude. They do break off from the herd at approximately 13 years of age, and they do this because they can get just a little bit rowdy, so they like to stay separate from the females. They're actually very, very tall. They can reach heights of almost 13 to 15 feet tall at the shoulder. So if they were to stand next to our truck here today, their shoulder could actually reach the very top of our canopy.
Yeah.
It does look as though that road back there was closed off due to some flooding, so we're going to take a little bit of an alternate route. It should be fine, however, I have heard that this bridge up here can be just a little bit rickety, so we're going to take it nice and slow once more. Poly. I am just a little bit concerned about it though, however, not too bad, because I have heard duct tape can do wonders, so it should hold up just fine. Don't mind if I hold my breath for a moment. Well, it looks like we made it over A-okay, but I wasn't concerned after all. As we say here in Harambe, Hakuna Matata, that means no worries. It's a wonderful phrase. Underneath this bridge will be some red clay pits. You'll notice over here on the right side that there are some tusk marks imprinted into this red clay. That is because elephants will oftentimes eat this red clay for the minerals on the inside. It has some of the essential vitamins that they need for their diet. Now, one interesting fact that was discovered about elephants on the reserve is that as large as they may be, they're actually afraid of bees. This has helped to save their numbers out in the wild, as many African farmers have resorted to hunting down elephants, as their migrations do trample right through their crops. So to prevent this, farmers have now started to put up bee fences around their farms. These bee fences not only keep their old crop safe, it provides them with the new crop of honey, but it does the number one thing, and that is protect the elephants. They are very social animals, so during the daytime they'll hang out with their more extended families and friends. But when it comes to nightfall, they'll go with their more direct families, such as mothers and their young. Mothers can bond with their young almost instantly at birth, and that is because they have a gestation period of approximately 22 months, so they are pregnant for almost 2 years. Do always hear the mothers groan at that one, believe you. The elephants do know that struggle. Now, many of these different herding animals rely on different patterns during the nighttime, and that is because they do take rotations on who gets to sleep. They do this so that they can watch out for predators, make sure everyone's staying safe. They also rely on the noises of many of the other animals out here on the savannah. This is a symbiotic relationship, helping to keep everyone perfectly safe. Coming up on our left side is going to be Flamingo Island, home to, as you may have guessed, flamingos. These are the greater flamingo. They are the palest of the flamingo species, and they actually get their color from their diet of small crustaceans such as brine shrimp, which has a material in it called carotene. That's what gives them that beautiful pink. They actually start off as a more dull gray color for their first 1 to 2 years of life. A group of flamingos is called a flamboyance. Now, it does look as though our warden has put up a warning to any poachers that might be in the area. Looks like they've confiscated some of those tusks and horns that the poachers have stolen from animals that they've hunted. Again, many of the animals out here are endangered and are at risk of extinction, so we do need to help protect them as much as possible. Many of these animals are losing their numbers due to 2 factors, that is habitat loss and poaching, both of which are caused by humans, so we do have the power to bring this to an end. If you look in the center of this clearing, you will see a rather large mud pit. Elephants and rhinos will use these mud pits as a way to help cool off on those hot days out here in the savannah. They also act as a form of natural sun protection. Although they do have very thick skin, they can get sunburned just like you or me. Now we are going to keep our eyes peeled for cheetahs over here on the left side. Did you see one walking out in the distance? Cheetahs are the fastest land animals on the planet. They run at speeds of almost 60 miles per hour. They can only maintain these speeds for a few hundred yards, after which they will need to rest for about 30 minutes. You'll see another one walking up there, as well as one lying in the back over here on our left side. If you get a close look at their face, you may be able to see some black tear lines. These black tear lines function in the same way as the black lines that football players put underneath their eyes, to help keep the glare out so they can see their prey better. You will see one walking about right over there on your left side. We'll take it nice and quiet if we have
You see him laying down cleaning himself and he's down walking over there? Whoa.
Now, coming up ahead are going to be the Kopi Rock formations. Kopi Rocks act almost like a giant termite mound in the way that they allow animals to see the savannah from a very, very high vantage point. They also regulate many different temperatures for the animals, so depending on the weather, they can regulate their body temperature by laying out on top of these rocks. Now, I do actually see a lion over there out in the distance. We'll be getting a little bit closer. Lions do oftentimes lie about on top of the Kopi Rocks for about 16 to 20 hours a day. They do so because they are not very successful hunters, so they must conserve their energy. Females do the majority of the hunting for the pride, and they do so at night when their vision is 6 times better than that of humans. They have padded paws, which allow them to sneak up very quietly on their prey. Now, does anybody know the Swahili word for lion? It is Simba. Looks like we have some A+ students aboard. It might sound a little bit familiar there. Now, you will see a few females over here. It looks like there's 2 females and a male over here. They're much more active during the nighttime. During the nighttime, they can be seen prowling about, even roaring sometimes. If you look on your right side, you will see two very, very special animals. These are called Bontebok. You'll also see some very brave waterbuck over here as well. Waterbuck are usually found around watering holes, hence their name. They have an oily secretion that emits from their fur that allows them to stay dry as they emerge from the water. May have gotten a view of their beautiful teeth in there.
No.
Now, I'm going to explain why these Bontebok are so special up ahead of us. Bontebok are so important because at one point in time there were only 17 Bontebok left on the entire planet. However, through conservation efforts, their numbers have been brought back. They're the ones lying down on the dirt over there with the horns. Bontebok quite literally translates towards candle goat. If you look at their faces, you'll notice that they have those white marks on the very top of their faces, so it does kind of look like they have a burning candle on there. Their numbers have been brought back though through conservation efforts. I have heard something a little bit special about them is that if you went up to their fur and took a nice big smell, it does kind of smell like hazelnuts. Pretty interesting. You may have also seen a small pile of ostrich eggs back there. Ostrich eggs are very sturdy. They weigh about 3 pounds, and they are so sturdy that if you were to try to stand on top of one of them, they would not break. Now, much like cheetahs, ostriches are some of the fastest land animals on the planet. They are the fastest ones to run on 2 legs, running at speeds of 40 miles per hour. And we are exiting the savannah and heading towards the Magadi Glen. Magadi Glen does mean hot springs, and it can get just a little bit bumpy out here, so make sure we're holding on to all valuables, including children. If you look on your right side, you will see a very special animal back there. They have that white and brown coat. That is a scimitar horned oryx. If you listen closely, you can hear lions roaring out in the distance. So the scimitar horned oryx is pretty cool. They are a desert animal. They only drink water about every 9 months. That's how long they can go without drinking any water at all. And another interesting fact about them is that when I was actually born, they were considered extinct out in the wild, so there was none to be found in any of the deserts out in Africa. However, through conservation efforts, they have been reintroduced in recent years. It is still very special to be able to see them so up close and personal like this. Now, if you did like any of the animals you saw here today and would like to help protect them, there are many different things you can do. They could be as simple as turning off the water when you brush your teeth, or you can donate to organizations such as the Disney Conservation Fund. This is a conservation fund that we are partnered with at all of our shops here in Harambe. You get a beautiful little pin for donating. You can also recycle your old electronic devices. Your electronics have a material in them called coltan, and coltan is often mined in the natural habitats of many of the animals you saw here today. So by recycling, you can help to prevent any further habitat loss for these beautiful animals, such as elephants or rhinos. Now, it does look as though we are approaching the outskirts of the village of Harambe, so I do want to say Asante Sana. That means thank you. Thank you so much for joining me out here today. Again, my name is Jake. Now, out here in Harambe, we do not like to say goodbye because that is far too permanent and much too sad. I would love to see all of your beautiful faces out here again. Instead, we say Kwaharini. Can everyone say Kwaharini? Thanks so much. That means go well. So I hope you all go well, go wild, and enjoy the rest of your time out here in Africa. And if I have any wilderness explorers aboard, the name of our truck has been Simba 1. I repeat, Simba 1, S-I-M-B-A 1. Now who remembers what Simba means? Lion, congratulations, you guys all ace up, pop quiz. Alright everyone, go well, go wild, and go make a difference out there. Have a wonderful night, everyone.